On today's Minute of the Apes, I took one look at that monkey suit sauna, and my only thought was the horrid rash I'd have afterwards.
They greenlit the sequel without a story in mind. They just wanted to equal an unexpected gold mine. He said, oh no, as Heston said, I got to go. These are just some of the facts you ought to know as we go. Beneath the Minute of the Apes. Beneath the Minute of the Apes. Beneath the Minute of the Apes.
Hello and welcome to Minute of the Apes, the daily podcast where we break down every minute of the Planet of the Apes movies 1 minute at a time. I'm Todd. I've got a smiling Richard and Sean across from me. Hello, boys.
Hello.
Hey.
We are up to minute 24. I don't think there's any housekeeping.
No.
All I can say is I'm ready to get back into the bathhouse. So, Sean, tell us all about it.
All right, we're going to start minute 24 with a gorilla asking Zaius if he is aware of the reports from the Forbidden Zone, and ends with the general asking what is more dangerous.
Let's take a listen to that minute.
You're aware of the reports we've been receiving of strange manifestations in the Forbidden Zone? Manifestations which you, if I might add, as Minister of Science, have been unable to fathom? 12 of my finest scouts just disappeared, vanished into thin air. 11. Huh? Very well, 11. And the 12th returns with incredible stories of huge walls of fire, strange, violent earthquakes, his mind gone, shattered, no doubt, by some unsimian torture.
Well, General, I still think you're being hasty.
No, Doctor. Decisive. Now we invade or we stop. It's as simple as that.
And as dangerous.
What is more dangerous?
As of minute 24, we got 3 living humans, 4 dead humans, 1 dead ape, a shrewdness of apes, a gaggle of humans, and 2 wet monkeys. Just,
Gross.
I mean, I know they're not actually sweating and everything, but I just wonder if at the end of the day, the actual costume just stunk.
I kept thinking, why didn't they spray the hair a bit more? Because
Yeah, 'cause it
monkeys
feels like
obviously
the-
have sweat glands.
Yeah,
I
so it
think.
feels like the face they made wet, but everything else were just...
But thank the lawgiver that Zaius seriously is covering his junk throughout.
Yeah.
Because there were 2 shots in this where I'm like, thank
would've been
God they put that towel right
They
there.
were not going to show you monkey junk. I'm
Straight on
sorry.
fruit and veg
Sure?
right there.
I'm sure. It's still a very awkward, uncomfortable place to be. And I'm wondering what they're trying to say about this moment, that they're no longer involved in class. I mean, think about this. We've got the Zaius, the government person, we've got the military person, and they're actually in this moment where they're no longer, they've broken down the walls of who they are in society.
Okay, for that reason, is that why they've taken away
Their clothes
clothing?
and everything.
They're now on an even level. And you said you disagreed with me before. We can get into the disagreement, but I
No.
wonder if that's where they took the clothes away.
But you say
I
they're on
disagreed. You disagreed. You were talking about it's a reiteration of what they've already said earlier, and I disagree with that.
Oh, okay.
Well, I was going to say, from your point of view, if we're going with, we're trying to make them more equal because they'll have their clothes on, this general is big swinging dick, so he doesn't mind being even more naked while Dr. Zaius is having to cover himself up a little bit.
That almost begs for a Mel Brooks type moment where the Mel Brooks character can't help but look down.
Keep-
He's distracted by
Doing
it.
the triple take?
But you can get into that they stripped the clothes away, because what I keep thinking of is Orson Welles' Othello, which famously shot in a bathhouse because he lost his costumes and customs coming through. He had a bathhouse where he was actually going at night to do, to relax. And he said, we'll shoot here. And it's a very classic scene that they put in Othello where everybody has their uniform stripped away. They're now on even level. So I can't help but think that wasn't the thought here, but it doesn't.
There was the intention.
It doesn't play well to it.
We don't have, modern America does not have bathhouses in the way they used to be at this particular point. So it might have been a different moment of time where this is a little more common.
And also that I think, at least from my point of view, it feels like bathhouses are more of a northern thing than growing up.
Oh, it's freaking hot here.
Yeah,
Who wants
there
to
was
go out
no
and get a
bathhouses in Houston or Dallas. I mean, that I knew of growing up.
The closest thing I knew was a sauna. I took swimming lessons at a very nice private college when I was a kid, and they had a sauna. And we'd go in there, and we'd
do it for a couple minutes,
and it was like, why is this pleasurable?
I could just sit outside and do this.
Yeah.
Yeah, true. That might be why. Maybe it's a difference. Difference in culture, difference in location.
I think it
So it
comes
may be
down.
strange to us, but to people from, northern states, it might be more familiar sight.
But they have not shown us anything in this scenario to make us think that this location is cold.
Oh, what? True.
And they've got monkey suits on, or they've got monkey hairy suits.
They're monkey bodies. Hey, look, I'm hairy, but every now and then I get in a sauna.
I think it comes down to that they wanted an opportunity to take them out of the costume, to
Break
put them in
down.
a monkey suit,
Break them down. Yeah.
and in a different location, and to superimpose steam over everything they did. Which that drove me insane.
Oh,
Why
that's
could
true.
they
I
not
just
do
now realized
on
that.
location?
I looked at that. I didn't know if this steam was being generated somewhere, but yeah, you're right. There's moments where just suddenly there's steam in a shot. Yeah.
There
That's pretty big technology for the time, right?
it's an optical overlay.
Looks great.
It you know what? For that era, they did a great job. Then there are times where some of the steam is actual,
real
practical,
steam,
but there are times too where you can tell it kind of dissipated, and they were like, could you put a little more steam in there?
Steam it up.
I find it. Do you think they made Zaya set the way that he did with the cloth to kind of cover the fact that he didn't have genitals?
I think it's because people would be uncomfortable if he was just sitting there with his
legs
like that,
open,
and
with
everybody'd be looking for
ape
his
spreading.
orangutan wiener.
I mean, the general's like
But that's what I'm saying. The
walks
general's
by as if
completely
he's got
full
as if-
frontal.
Yeah, true. Yeah. Full frontal general.
Yeah. So full
Gross.
frontal genitals.
I don't know that it. The fact that you're putting the towel there implies that you don't have the towel there and you're not covering something. So I'm surprised that the censor board didn't say this is a little too weird.
I'm kind of surprised too.
To which you go, point to the ape dick. Show me where you see the ape dick. I will cover up the
especially-
ape dick
But
if
in
you point
the
to it.
1970s, they were so weird about that. I'm just. You don't have to think about Chewbacca. They had the whole thing where the censors were like, "Shouldn't you put pants on Chewbacca?" They actually fought about that for a while.
Point to the chewy dick.
So let's talk about what they talk about, right?
Okay.
How can you doubt it, Dr. Zayas, after the reports have been receiving of strange manifestations in the Forbidden Zone? Manifestations which you, as Minister of Science, have been unable to fathom. 12 of my scouts have vanished into thin air.
Whoa. 11.
Wait. I was like, what? Oh, you're correcting me. No, but this idea that they already have scouts going into the Forbidden Zone. And strange things. Now, having watched previous minutes, we know that it's a wall of fire.
But that's what I was
Well, and I
wondering.
found that interesting.
Yeah.
I found that interesting that the apes are experiencing the same
exact
thing
same
Taylor
thing,
is,
yeah.
and apparently these phenomenon are rather new. They're either new or they've never gone this far
Or
into the
to see
Forbidden
this,
Zone
yeah.
to see it.
Right. We established the cave was in the Forbidden Zone, right?
Yeah. Well,
We've kind of gone back and forth on whether the cave was, but we established that it was at some point.
I think it's on the cusp of it.
yeah, it's
okay.
on the. I think it's in the Forbidden Zone because Cornelius has been going into the Forbidden Zone to do his
right, yeah.
excavating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's had scouts that have vanished into thin air. So why are they sending scouts in the Forbidden Zone?
See, so my immediate thought I'm bringing in the last film is Taylor goes off. They are curious about what he's gone to find. Where's he from? He's caused such a furor, he and Dodge, that they want to know where this tribe has come from. And so maybe they go to explore the Forbidden Zone. That's why they run into it.
But he said in the previous 2 minutes that he was actually going there looking for places for
For
food.
food and stuff to expand their.
Places to expand their farming.
Maybe it's a little column A, little column B. He's using Taylor and what happened in the previous movie to forward his agenda of going into the Forbidden Zone, looking for more fertile lands that they can use. And while they're doing this, we're seeing these strange phenomena.
So we've got the comic about Ursus, and I'm going to say the name simply because I have to refer to the comic. That's doing a great job of at least plugging some of these holes. Does it not surprise either of you that when they wrote this film that somebody didn't say the most pressing conversation that needs to be had in this story is that the apes have been held back? I mean, the gorillas have been held back to this point. This needs to begin with him going, you're not holding us back. Where does he come from? And that becomes the thrust of your dramatic push in this film. I'm shocked that they didn't simply see that's what the story needs to be. Instead, they're making up these things about looking for crops.
Looking for food, looking for those kinds of things.
I don't know. That doesn't hold water with me. It seems very thin.
So do you think that the what we've read so far and looked at so far about them being mad at humans is a reason for the general for an excursion into the Forbidden Zone, and that's just an excuse?
I think I've always read it that way, that maybe he's been holding back and he's wanted it, and now here's his reason to go after it.
So it was nice to have Zaius kind of correct him 11.
Yeah.
And he goes, 11. And the 12th returned with incredible reports of huge walls of fire and strange violent earthquakes. His mind was shattered undoubtedly by some unsimian torture.
Yeah. Is that their version of inhuman torture?
But he's now talking about the fact that not only is the Forbidden Zone there,
Right.
but that there is something
happening,
and unsimian torture suggesting that there's some human
force behind
persons,
intelligence, guiding
army, something in the Forbidden Zone.
And it also tells us that
some unsimian torture. They're
seeing what Taylor saw in the beginning.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I do like that we're tying that together. Yeah.
So Zaius says, "Well, General, I still think you're being hasty." And he goes, "No, decisive." So 2 lines of dialogue that were cut out of this. His mind was shattered undoubtedly by some unsimian torture. Zaius, inflicted by whom? General, who knows, but they live, therefore they eat.
Yeah, that was...
All right, so General is now saying that there are factions there, and he goes, therefore they eat, which goes back to this point that they're looking for food.
Okay, but why is a general so obsessed with food if he's not using that as a lie to act out on his aggression instead? We move in on aggressive military actions all the time. We say we're going for this, and it's really for that.
Yeah.
I don't understand. Is he also, I guess, like, Zaius was the minister of science and the keeper of the faith or whatever that was, so maybe he's
and the roller of the tortillas. And...
yeah, he's the director of the food bank and also the leader of the military.
So... General says, no, Doctor, decisive. And he says, well, we invade or we starve. It's as simple as that. The line that was taken out was, what is evident is that by this overpopulation, we face famine.
Yeah, so in the previous movie, the previous movie covered a significant amount of time that Taylor can get shot in the throat and not be able to talk, and that eventually heals. So we got a couple months at least. At no point did it seem like anybody was having any starvation problems. I mean, the city seemed pretty bustling. Either a significant amount of time has passed since the end of that movie and when Taylor disappeared and when Nova and Brent and all this has happened, or it's being used as a cover story. I don't know.
It once again goes into why aren't we having conversations that are more pressing to the immediate moment? I would kind of posit that a certain amount of time has passed because Cornelius and Zira are no longer under any type of
house arrest,
trial, or heresy, or trial, or anything like that. They seem to have somewhat reclaimed their positions because they're hanging out with the chimpanzees. Zaius seems to at least acknowledge them, not in some form of authority. A military leader has risen to power. Even in a short period of time, this wouldn't have happened a week later.
But then again, you know, if you're gonna take that leap of faith that number one, that somehow Cornelius and Zira have escaped their charges,
right?
It almost feels like they just decided to eradicate that portion of the story.
Yeah.
I mean, you could because of what they replayed at the first movie, you could make the case where they went,
certain stuff.
We decided not to pursue that.
I agree. It would look like, depending on the amount of time that's passed, it would look like the writers just decided, nope. We're not going to drop that plot.
We're not going to have a second trial scene in a movie. We've
Cornelius
just
kind of carted away while Zira just kind of stood there talking to Zaius. Just didn't happen.
Which I don't understand removing any dramatic tension from a film. You have a dramatic separation of two characters you love. You've put them in jeopardy. Now they're in a situation where they want to help the humans even more because they're being removed from society. So
because if they help the humans, it helps them.
All right. So if we take out the humans ruining their food crops and their source to eat, then we come back with the fact that Zira and Cornelius have actually talked to the other chimp, which is why they're sympathetic. Well, they've enlightened the other chimps as to why.
That could be it. You could also have the gorillas are livid because, you know, it could be, how long have I warned you that it would only be a small amount of time that a human would talk? What happens when one could talk? That's his propulsion for doing aggressive actions.
I mean, you could say that one of the reasons